Ambassador, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
I understand that this is the last month of your stay here in Indonesia for your assignment.
Unfortunately, yes. I'm going to really miss Indonesia. It's been fun.
Just a warm-up question then. What are the most important or most exciting highlights that you gain here while being assigned here in Indonesia?
Yeah, I would have to say two. One would certainly be when President Jokowi was elected and all of the drama surrounding that election, and you know the very sharp distinction between him and Mr. Prabowo, and you know I think what in many ways what a transformative candidate Jokowi was, and the great excitement that you felt in the streets, particularly among young people after his election. The second one would have to have been when President Jokowi went to visit President Obama in Washington last October, and you know there was very good personal chemistry between the two of them, and they also, of course, established a strategic partnership between our two countries, got the ball rolling on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which I think is also going to be a very, very important long-term development for our two countries. And lastly, put us into some new areas like maritime cooperation, and they decided to strengthen defense cooperation as well. So all of those, I think, will have quite far-reaching impacts, and so I'll remember those in particular.
Moving on to a more serious issues. Recently, there was an incident in Orlando, a shooting that has taken away a number of lives, of people's lives. Do you think, in your own perspective, do you think this incident will trigger a wider discourse in terms of the revisions of the gun ownership regulations?
I certainly hope so. As you know, it was the worst gun incident in our history. 49 people were killed and 50 or more people were injured. And you know, President Obama said afterwards that we're probably one of the few countries on earth where troubled individuals like that have easy access to automatic or semi-automatic weapons and can, you know, take out their rage against innocent people. So it's very, very important that hopefully the U.S. Congress will be able to take some action to restrict gun ownership.
Will it somehow inspire the transformation or regulations on applying the Second Amendment?
You know, it's hard to say. The right to bear arms, which is the Second Amendment, is one of the most kind of closely cherished rights in America. And there have been consistent efforts to try to, again, restrict particularly sales of things like assault weapons. And thus far, there hasn't been much success on that front. And so, and partly that's because we have some very strong lobbies in the U.S. Congress, like the National Rifle Association. And they have successfully argued that if you begin to control things like assault weapons, the next step will be to ban the sale of all weapons. And of course, there's a lot of people that enjoy hunting all around the United States. And so thus far, that kind of argument has prevailed. But again, the more of these kinds of incidents that take place, I think the greater their support to do something that most Americans see as common sense.
For the past few years, you've been here in Indonesia, so you're sort of a quote-unquote a spectator of what's happening in the U.S., even though you're still very much attached to it.
Sure.
In your perspective, what has triggered so much violence in the U.S. and violent incidents that are uprising at the moment?
Well, I'm not sure that there's been, you know, that much violence in the United States. I don't think we have any greater proportion of disturbed or angry individuals than anybody else. I think what's different is that those people have access to guns in a much greater way than in other countries, and particularly in the industrialized world. And again, Obama has said that over and over again, that we have got to take steps to you know, restrict particularly the sales of these semi-automatic things that allow, again, disturbed individuals to take many lives very, very quickly.
Okay, issues such as terrorism, racism, and also sexual orientation now have become more of an issue lately in the U.S. Do you think it will somehow make an impact on how the government is setting up the domestic policies, or is there any role that they are playing in U.S. politics right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've been playing a role in U.S. politics for some time, so that they're not particularly new in that sense. I think we're all very proud of the progress that's taken place there, and you've seen similar progress in other countries now. So that was in many ways a very big positive breakthrough. On the not so positive side, as you say, there has been some very serious racist incidents in the United States. There's been a lot of troubling violence against particularly young black men by police. And so, but that's been, again, kind of a longstanding issue for at least the last year or so. And gun violence has, of course, been going on for a very long time. And there's been a whole string of incidents. So, but again, I think hopefully this time, because so many people were killed and so many people were injured, that will have some impact, we hope. But again, it's a little bit early to say.